I can still hear the tone of her voice that night. Soft, almost playful. "I just need a little space," she said. "I want to date around, have some fun. But don't you dare move on. I might come back." Her words cut like a hidden blade wrapped in a smile. She expected me to wait, tethered to her doorstep like some obedient dog, wagging its tail while she wandered off with strangers, hoping she returned someday. I didn't argue. I only nodded. And in that silence, I discovered my first weapon. We had been married 3 years. She came from wealth. I didn't. What I brought into the marriage was loyalty, patience, the steady kind of love she once swore she craved. What she gave was influence, privilege, doors that opened simply because of her last name. I loved her before any of that mattered, and I thought she loved me too. But wealth has a way of rotting things. It breeds entitlement, a hunger that's never satisfied. She didn't want a partner. She wanted variety, endless options. The signs had been there long before her confession. The late nights, the secretive smiles at her phone, the faint scent of cologne that wasn't mine. I already knew betrayal had crept into our home. So when she finally spoke, I didn't feel rage or heartbreak. I felt clarity. I gave her nothing of what she wanted. No begging, no tears, no fight. She had been expecting a performance to prove her control. Instead, I handed her silence. Cold, deliberate silence. While she laughed with her friends, I watched. While she partied, I prepared. First, I secured myself. She had always been reckless with money. Joint accounts, impulsive transfers, thoughtless spending. She assumed I never noticed because I hadn't grown up with wealth. She underestimated me. Quietly, I hired a lawyer who specialized in divorces involving fortunes. Together, we uncovered her hidden accounts, her family trusts, and the cracks in the prenup she thought would shield her. She believed she was a clever one. She wasn't. Next, I cut away every tie she assumed bound me to her. I moved assets she never knew existed. I severed connections she believed she controlled. Piece by piece, I built my fortress while she danced her nights away. And finally, my sharpest move, I prepared my exit. The night she told me I could be her safety net. She unknowingly handed me the blade I'd used to sever her hold for good. By the next morning, before her coffee was even poured, I had blocked her everywhere. Phone, email, social media. Gone. Even her family couldn't reach me. I erased myself with surgical precision. At first, she didn't notice. Why would she? She was too busy sampling her new buffet of choices. But eventually, reality set in. Choices don't love you. Choices don't endure your moods. Choices don't stay. When the glow faded, she turned back to find the safety net that had always caught her. But it wasn't there anymore. The silence that once felt manageable grew sharp, suffocating. At first, her panic came in small ripples. A mutual friend delivered a message. Then another followed. "Why aren't you answering her?" they asked. I only smiled. Soon the ripples turned into waves. She showed up at my old apartment, not knowing I'd already moved. She called my former job, only to hear I was gone. She even reached out to my lawyer, who, by design, gave her nothing. Every attempt to pull the leash she thought was still around my neck ended with her grasping empty air. The day everything collided was gray and rainy. I was leaving a meeting when I saw her, drenched, shivering, mascara streaking her cheeks like ink bleeding through wet paper. "You blocked me," she hissed, her voice brittle, breaking between anger and fear. "Yes," I replied. "Nothing more." She froze. She was used to explanations, endless patience, a love that bent itself to her storms. But not this. Not silence. Not a wall. "You can't just leave. You can't." "I can," I said, "and I already have." I stood there as she unraveled in front of me. She tried to summon nostalgia, to resurrect the ghost of the love we once shared. She played the part of the abandoned wife, pleading for time, for understanding. But it rang hollow, because the truth was already carved in stone. In the silence between us, she hadn't wanted me. She had wanted certainty, someone who would always wait, always remain, always orbit her. But that man was gone. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't chaos. It was exact like a scalpel. I left her to sit in the emptiness she had carved for herself while I thrived in the space she thought would devour me. Her family called. Her friends called. Some tried to shame me back into her orbit. I ignored them all, because real revenge isn't shouting. It's withdrawal. It's absence so absolute that the betrayer chokes on the void they created. And the silence wasn't the end. Weeks later, divorce papers landed on her desk. She had believed I would never leave, that my pride was chained to her scraps of affection. Instead, I walked away with quiet resolve, and with half of what she swore I'd never touch. Her desperation soured into rage when she realized what I'd taken from her. Not just money, but control. The story, the power. The woman who once told me to wait while she explored her options now found herself scrambling after the one man who refused to orbit her any longer. I'll admit something. Watching her unravel was addictive. Not because I hated her. Hate would mean she still mattered. No, it was addictive because it confirmed what I had always known. She never deserved the version of me I gave her. I gave her loyalty. She gave me conditions. I gave her steadiness. She gave me ultimatums. I gave her love. She gave me an expiration date. So I gave her silence. Now, when her memory brushes against me, there's no sting, no anger, no longing, only nothing. And that nothing, that is the sharpest cut of all. She once told me never to move on. So I did the one thing she feared most. I moved on without her.